Back to work.
Want to welcome everybody for the 2026-2027 budget meeting. I'd like to go around the room and have introductions. Yeah.
Oh, Nathan Hughes, Technical Manager.
Mary Jo Beck, Office Support Specialist.
Mickey Nichols, CFO.
Dee Woolley, budget member.
Jeff Flatt, board member.
Mike Rice, and budget member.
Jeremy Hypes, Executive Director.
Tyler Miller, I'm the Zone 5 Deputy board on the board of directors.
Dean Smith, budget member.
Dee Reed, budget committee member.
Donovan Barclay, budget member.
Yes.
Sally Jones, former director and volunteer for the 911 levy campaign.
We have two online.
Yes, we have Chandra Egan and Mark E.
Welcome, Chandra and Mark. Appreciate everybody being here today. And we're going to open election for chair of the budget committee. Any nominations?
I nominate Mike Grayson, who's done a wonderful job.
I'd like to second that motion.
Any other nominations? Okay. Motion made and seconded to appoint Mike Bryson as budget committee chair. Any discussion?
Just a point of clarification, it's just the budget committee members that are voting on this, correct? Or do the board members also vote on
Board member also votes because they're actually your budget member right now. Even though you're a board member, you're also a budget member.
it? Thank you.
Do you want to nominate somebody?
Oh, no. If you're willing to, I would third on the nomination for you, sir.
So I'll call for a vote. All in favor of Mike Bryson as chair, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Now nominations for secretary for the 2026-2027 budget committee. Any nominations?
Who's current secretary?
I believe Steve is.
Who is?
Steve,
Keith,
Steve Reed.
Steve.
that sounds good to me.
Steve.
Got you.
What did I do wrong?
You can do it.
I move that, or I nominate Keith as secretary.
Any other nominations? Any discussion? All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, just point of order really quick. I thought that Shelley was going to be joining us virtually for the first half hour. Do we know if
That's what she said.
she's not waiting or anything? Is she?
I haven't gotten an update from her.
Okay. Yeah, I think she was mobile, so maybe this didn't work out.
Thank you. So motion carried for Steve for secretary. Okay, presentation of the budget message and budget.
All right. Me now.
All right. So first off, I want to thank everybody for attending this year's 2026-27 budget meeting for Columbia 911 Communications District. Our local budget process would not be possible without your assistance and your willingness to be part of the process. This year, I have the privilege of providing a briefing of significant changes in projected revenues and expenditures. The presentation of the budget provides a forum for me to explain noteworthy items while each of you reviews the budget numbers. So considerations in preparing this proposal are given to the expressed wishes of public, staff, partners, and committee members. This budget is intended to serve as a financial plan, operational plan, active financial guide, and communication device. So in compliance with Oregon local budget law, this annual budget for fiscal year 26-27 is balanced between total projected resources and requirements as prepared and submitted. The annual budget is intended to serve as those points I pointed out earlier: financial plan, an operational plan, an active financial guide, and a communication device. Within the annual budget, the district funds are grouped as the following. We have the general fund, which is used to record financial transactions relating to all activities of the district, which specific types of funds are not required. The facilities reserve fund, which is used to record financial transactions relating to the building, remodeling, or relocating of 911 operations. We have the equipment reserve fund, which is used to accumulate needed funds for communication equipment system replacement or upgrades. And then the revenue loss reserve fund, which is used to accumulate funds to offset expenses when revenue is lost. The board of directors adopting a resolution authorizing appropriations for each fund at the end of the budget process sets the level by which expenditures cannot exceed appropriations. Funds for personal services, materials and services, capital outlay, fund transfers, and contingency are the levels of control of which each fund established by resolution appropriations lapse at the fiscal year end. A new strategic plan will be developed this fiscal year and will be integrated into the board assessment and policy review that's been scheduled with the SDAO next month. The district will address personnel needs regarding to recruiting, training, and retaining of staff, services, and assets will continue to be maintained. Board and staff members will begin planning for major radio system upgrades and develop a plan to finance the project. Staff will continue with the district facility upgrades and work to find an appropriate solution for a backup center, which could involve some of the regional partnerships that have been formed. The proposed budget expenditures for fiscal year 26-27 for all funds total $9,302,763. This represents a decrease of $1,209,073 or 11.5% from the current fiscal year all funds total of $511,836. The decrease is primarily due to the loss of our local option levy. Without this levy, we were left with minimal contingency funds and were unable to transfer money from the general fund into our three supporting funds. The supporting funds being the equipment fund for radio replacement projects, facility fund used for building maintenance and repair, and the loss revenue fund used to stabilize operations of a revenue source west of it. The loss revenue fund was created for situations like this, and it is now depleted after the levy failed in 2024. 2025, we also had to transfer $1.2 million out of the equipment fund to maintain operations. If the levy does not pass in May 2026, we will need to transfer an additional $1.6 million from the equipment fund and $623,730 from the facilities fund, which will deplete it will be transferred to the general fund to maintain operations for the budget year 2026-2027. The critical issue budget development guideline approved by the board of directors relative to this budget category is shown. ensure adequate staffing to provide quality service delivery through effective recruitment, selection, training, competitive compensation, and retention of employees. On average, the district sees an annual turnover rate of 2 operational staff employees. Typically, there are training positions who are not successful in our training program. In the past 12 months, the district hired 2 full-time communication specialists, otherwise known as ComSpecs, who are on track to finish training by the end of summer, and 1 candidate is scheduled to start mid-May. Currently, we have 2 part-time and 11 full-time positions. 2 of those 11 full-time are still in the trainee status. And 2 of the 3 lead dispatchers positions are filled with plans to fill the 3rd position by the end of spring. We are budgeted for 17 full-time equivalent positions, which include 2 part-time roles. Due to staffing shortages and the mandates they create, there has been a drastic increase in overtime costs. The district continues to recruit qualified candidates for the ComSpec positions. Application quality and volume have begun to improve. Our goal remains to staff at least 3 ComSpecs 24 hours a day, with the 4th during peak hours. Lead dispatchers continue to provide additional support to the operations floor and assist the operations manager with various tasks. As for administrative staff, I myself joined the district in August of 2025 as the executive director. For those that don't know much about me, I have 26 years of experience in 911, including 20 years on the dispatch floor. And over the course of my career, I've served in every operational role within the dispatch center, including training officer, peer support, supervisor, and operations manager. I currently do serve as the president of Oregon APCO NENA and sit on 2 APCO international committees. The district concluded negotiations with the Columbia 911 Dispatchers Association on a 3-year contract beginning July of 2023. The agreed upon collective bargaining agreement determined a minimum of 2.5% and a maximum of 6% for the last fiscal year. The annual 2025 U.S. cities average CPI-W was 2.6%. With the current contract set to expire on June 30th, the district is in negotiations with the association, who has requested a 1-year extension. The anticipated wage increase as a result of bargaining have been considered in the development of this budget. It is the board's practice to consider administrative staff compensation adjustments in conjunction with the bargaining impacts following contract settlement, and this budget has been prepared consistent with that practice. The budget accounts for anticipated merit-based step increases for employees who are not at the top of their wage scale, as well as projected certification completions and upcoming longevity milestones. Currently, 48% of the district's employees are at the top of their wage scales. The district's health insurance administrator, City County Insurance Services, announced its not to exceed rate adjustments beginning January 2027 at their annual conference in February of this year. The maximum not to exceed rate for Kaiser Medical Insurance, which just under half of the employees and dependents are enrolled in, is a 5.5% increase. There is a 13.6% increase projected for our region's Blue Cross Blue Shield medical plan, and the vision premium portion is projecting a 2% increase. Region's Delta dental plan is projecting a 2% increase, and Kaiser dental plan is projected a 3.5% increase for the next renewal period. The CIS Board of Trustees will adopt the final rate changes in late May. To help offset the out-of-pocket expenses the employees incur for medical expenses, the district continues to contribute to a voluntary employee benefit account, otherwise known as VEBA. This benefit begins for employees on their 1-year anniversary, and the monthly contribution for all employees is currently 2.5% plus $20 of the communications specialist top step, which will be approximately $2,163 per year per employee. The graph listed illustrates the changes in employee participation in health insurance premiums, payments, as well as the fluctuations in health benefit costs of the district over the years. All district employees that qualified for the Tier 1 hired before December 31st of 1995 retirement plan have retired. The district has 3 employees in Tier 2 hired before August 29 of 2003, and the remainder of the staff are in Oregon Public Service Retirement Plan, otherwise known as OPSRP, hired after August 29th of 2003. Retirement plans through the Oregon PERS. Also, all Tier 2 and OPSRP members participate in the Individual Account Program, or IAP. District staff members contribute 6.0% of their own wages to their employee IAP account. The district does not pick up those contributions for its employees. Senate Bill 1049 went into effect July 1st of 2020 and redirects a portion of the 6% contribution into the employee's stability account, which is used to pay future pension benefits. Tier 1, Tier 2 have 2.5% of their 6% contribution diverted to the EPSA or OPSRP and have 0.75% diverted. House Bill 2296, which was passed in 2023, is the most significant update regarding work after retirement. It extended Senate Bill 1049's provisions, allowing most retirees to work unlimited hours without losing their pension from the original 2024 sunset date to December 31, 2034. And the PERS board conducts actuarial evaluations every year to give employers an indication of future rates. The October 2024 actuarial rates for Columbia 911 as a member of the local government employee group went into effect on July 1st of 2025 is 25.68% for Tier 1 and 2 tier employees, which is up from the 24.23%, and 24.05% for OPSRP employees, which is up from 21.28%. So the total appropriation for personnel services for fiscal year 26-27 represents 70.2% of our general fund budget. The total amount proposed is $3,510,491. This is a decrease of $148,208 or 4.05% over the last fiscal year. This year's budget maintains the communications specialist staffing level at 17 full-time equivalent positions, which includes 3 lead dispatchers and 2 part-time employees. The budget also maintains the current administrative positions. Primary reason for the decrease in this year's budget is the fact that personnel services in the past have been calculated at the CBA's maximum COLA increase of 6%. The current contract will end on June 30th, and negotiations again have begun to extend the current contract of 1 year. But the extension, no minimum or maximum, has been set at this time of this proposal, so 3% was used as the number to evaluate that. In fiscal year 24-25, staff answered over 76,000 telephone calls to the dispatch center. The average answer speed of 911 calls has been consistently maintained at 3.45 seconds, with over 80% of those calls coming from wireless or cell phone telephones, which has steadily increased over the last 10 years. The 3.45 second answer time is well within the nationally accepted standards. NENA, National Emergency Number Association standards, set that 90% of all 911 calls shall be answered within 15 seconds. The district's performance for calendar year 2025 was 99.68%, a number that we're very proud of. The district's dispatch activity increased by 8.48% from 2023 to 2024. A total of 73,590 law enforcement, fire, emergency medical, and other agency incidents were dispatched or supported by dispatch personnel in 2024-2025. Dispatch activity remains dependent on fluctuations and levels of funding of patrol personnel and field-initiated activities. Critical issues and budget development guidelines approved by the Board of Directors are relative to this budget category: materials and services. Ensure optimally functioning equipment to allow for effective service delivery. Ensure facility security and proper state of maintenance. Ensure appropriate and effective use of services through public awareness, education, and the dissemination of public information. In addition to critical issues, the primary purposes for the amounts proposed in the materials and services line items for this year, including maintaining current levels of services, maintaining buildings, equipment, and facilities. The district has consistently worked to manage these costs reasonably while still maintaining a stable and up-to-date system. The total budget amount proposed for fiscal year 26-27
How's it going?
Fine.
Doing all right. This is just our budget amendment. It's fun. I saw, sorry, I never got back to you. The maps.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, the lost where I was at. The total budget amount proposed for fiscal year 26-27 increased by $18,750 or 1.36% from the prior fiscal year. Line items have been increased or decreased based on fluctuations projected by our vendors, projected needs, and or historical usage. Tower site lease repairs and maintenance. Funds are included for our annual lease payments to Weyerhaeuser for our Clatskanie Mountain and Piscahome sites, to Oregon Department of Transportation for the site that we occupy at Green Mountain, and to Day Wireless for our Columbia Heights radio site. Improvements continue to be made to our radio system to bring radio equipment and sites up to industry standards. Funds are being budgeted to address potential repairs to the sites, as well as to include the items not covered under the maintenance agreement. On-site radio and audio recording equipment repairs and maintenance. Included in this line item is the annual lease payment of our Equiture voice recording platform. Preventive maintenance agreement for our radio system also includes the maintenance of our Motorola Gold Elite console equipment in the dispatch center. Monies continue to be included to fund that portion of the agreement and to cover items that it does not include. CAD GIS and operations systems repair and maintenance. CAD is an integral tool for service delivery, and is a cost we continue to monitor carefully. The culmination of multi-year CAD system replacement project for the district was completed in fiscal year 2019. Included in this line item is the district's portion of the annual maintenance, our share of the expense of the Metro Area Joint CAD System, or MAGICS manager, CAD networking costs, and the station alert interface. Also included in this expense is the fiber optic connection to WACA, Washington County Consolidated Communications, as well as the cost of several backup connections. The Oregon 911 program maintains two accounts for 911 excise taxes. They receive the fund equipment and services for all of the state of Oregon 911 centers. Over the past several years, the state has put in place several cost-cutting measures to help maintain these two accounts. These cost reductions have been passed on to each 911 center. In the past, OEM has paid to maintain all 5 of our emergency call taking positions. The district has become responsible for the maintenance of 1 of our 5 positions, as well as associated costs to maintain the 911 phone system analytics software. Maintaining the 5th position and the analytics system to measure our performance is critical to our operations. The estimated funds to maintain these items continue to be included in this line item. Administrative data system repair and maintenance. Quality assurance, quality improvement programs are vital in assuring the core functions are compliant to the district, state, and national standards. These programs are focused on processes and systems that are built through uniform, standardized training. Logistically, they are very challenging to set up and administer within the staffing limitations of our organization. With the commissioners previously approving the Columbia County Ambulance Service Area, or ASA, district staff continue to further develop our QA/QI program in partnership with our medical advisor and the EMS partners to review our operational policies and evaluate a % of the district's 911 medical calls. The district's payroll and accounting software programs were upgraded and replaced with Springbrook Express in the fiscal year 23-24, and funds have been included to continue this annual subscription. Telecommunications. Oregon Emergency Management continues to pay for the district's 8 enhanced 911 trunks, as well as for statewide wireless network costs. In the past, we have recorded these expenditures as a revenue and expense to fully capture the true expense as a cost of the operations. This year, the Oregon Emergency Management, or 911 program, did fund the replacement of 4 of our 5 911 telephone workstations, customer premise equipment, or CPE. The district has been responsible to pay for the 5th workstation. Over the last several years, the state has been unreliable in accounting to the PSAPs the expense that are being paid, and we have had to rely on averages from prior years to report these expenses. While there have been some signs of improvement in reporting from the state, the district decided not to budget for this revenue beginning into fiscal year 21-22 and continue for this year's budget proposal. We continue to fund the 6 lines in the MIC, this room, that are used when there is an activation of the Public Information Center for emergencies within the county, flooding, windstorms, and etc. Other options for handling these situations are continue to be explored that won't require funding of phone lines that are rarely used, but important in managing a county-wide event. Elections. Following the failure of the 5-year local option levy renewal measure in both the May and November 2024 elections, the district had to utilize all the funds from the designated revenue loss reserve account, established specifically to address unexpected reductions in funding. To ensure continued financial stability for the 25-26 fiscal year, in 2025, we also had to transfer $1.2 million out of the equipment reserve fund to maintain operations. The district plans to pursue the renewal of a levy at the same rate of 29 cents per thousand of assessed value in the May 2026 election, as the district cannot sustain operations long-term without this additional tax revenue. If the levy does not pass in May of this year, we will need to transfer an additional 1.6 million from the Equipment Reserve Fund and 623,730 from the Facilities Reserve Fund, which will deplete it, to the general fund to maintain operations for the budget year 2026-2027. Previously, this levy had earned voter approval in Columbia County for 5 consecutive cycles spanning from 1998 to 2019. Business insurance. Through the Special Districts Insurance Services, SDIS, Best Practices Program, the district identifies risk prevention and healthy business practices in use by the district that are recommended as best practices for SDIS. For each year that district adds best practices and or maintains best practices, credits are given against the insurance premiums. For the calendar year of 2025, the district received $5,211 of best practice credits, as well as $2,613 for multi-line discount. As a follow from last year's discussion, the district has taken steps to help protect our data assets from cyber attacks that are happening at an alarming rate across the country. The district's insurance agent of record strongly recommended the district add additional coverage to cover higher limits. This has been accomplished and the funds have been included to continue this coverage. Professional services. Significant adjustments have been made to the fund, the district's increasing needs for legal oversight of the collective bargaining agreement, radio site agreements, public purchasing rules, intergovernmental agreements, policy review, and unforeseen labor issue advice and litigation. Public education and information. In 2025, the district expanded its public education and outreach efforts by taking full ownership of its social media and print communication and in-person engagement. Internally produced initiatives such as the 911 Pop Quiz, Inside 911 Behind the Call, and monthly call stat updates have enhanced public understanding of the emergency communications while supporting recruitment through career-focused messaging. These efforts developed using existing staff and tools reflecting our continued commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and meaningful community engagement. In addition to digital outreach, district staff actively participated in community events through the year, reinforcing our role as a responsive and accessible public safety agency. We will continue to build on these strategies in the year ahead, emphasizing education, connection, and civic involvement. Capital outlay, all funds. These critical issues and budget development guidelines approved by the board of directors are relative to this budget category. Given the ongoing uncertainty surrounding funding for a new radio system, such a project is unlikely to be feasible in the near future. Therefore, attention must be directed towards developing a prioritized list of all critical systems, evaluating their current condition and identifying any potential risks of significant communication disruptions that could impact public safety personnel, dispatch operations, and overall community safety. Yearly preventive maintenance was performed at each radio site to ensure optimal system performance. Preventive maintenance will allow the district to further prioritize system replacement items. The district will obtain firm cost estimates for each identified item and define the necessary steps and projected timelines for procurement, installation, and system transition and acceptance testing, all prior to final turnover for operational use. Upon receiving board approval, the district will move forward with contractual agreements for the approved system replacement projects and initiate their corresponding procurement process. Site development. The district has been working on the following solutions during this fiscal year to order to improve radio quality. The Meisner radio site. This site construction project began in 2020. It was delayed for many months due to concerns relating to COVID-19 pandemic, but was successfully completed earlier this year. The Haven Acres site. Located within the city limits of Class County, this site has been identified as requiring upgrades to meet the operational standards set by the district. Surplus equipment, including a radio shelter, mono tower, generator, and propane tank, has already been acquired and is currently being stored at the Columbia County Public Works back lot until needed for installation. As the district finalizes prioritized recommendations for critical upgrades and replacements to the existing radio system, while carefully balancing system longevity and sustainable use of reserve funding, the planned upgrades of this site remains uncertain during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. The Pisgah Home site, also known as Buck Mountain. This site was acquired from Day Wireless in 2017 with the strategic intent of improving radio communications coverage across rural regions of the southern portion of the county. Initial site enhancements were carried out between 2017 and 2018, which included the decommissioning and demolition of an outdated tower structure, installation of perimeter security fencing to mitigate liability risks, and the extension of underground electrical service to the site to support future infrastructure. Subsequent development activities were suspended due to ongoing uncertainty regarding the site's viability and support of the future next generation radio system, or its potential integration and expansion within the framework of the existing VHF radio network. As the district finalizes its prioritized recommendations for critical upgrades and replacements to the existing radio system, while carefully balancing system longevity and sustainable use of reserve funding. The continued development of this site into a fully operational site remains uncertain during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Microwave upgrade. There are 2 remaining microwave links that are still operating with obsolete hardware. Dispatch to Bald Hill, Columbia Heights north to south. These links reached their end-of-life status in 2016. The dispatch to Bald Hill replacement has been expedited after a failure in the microwave link. This upgrade will be completed in 2026. The current upgrade initiative aims to replace this outdated equipment with the same hardware models used in previously completed microwave system upgrades. This approach ensures consistency across the entire network, aligning all components to the same generation and life cycle. Upgrading these links also supports the broader transition away from legacy T1 lines to a digital analog hybrid communication format historically used in 911 systems. As the state migrates to IP-based 911 infrastructure, it is essential that our microwave system be capable of supporting this modern communication standard. Radio console replacement. The Motorola Gold Elite radios. The radio console serves as the central hub of the communication system, providing dispatchers with a fully integrated computerized application at each of the 5 dispatch positions. This system enables dispatchers to manage incoming calls, accurately assessing a wide range of situations, deploy appropriate response units, and monitor events until they are resolved. The current radio console in use, the Motorola Gold Elite, is now 15 years past production life and has exceeded its end of repair life by 6. The system is significantly outdated, with replacement parts coming increasingly scarce, though not entirely unavailable. Our greater concern is the limited number of qualified technicians in the Western United States who possess the expertise to service this equipment or address major failures within the system. The replacement of the radio console equipment has been identified as a priority and should be pursued during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. The district should initiate the appropriate procurement process to identify a compatible replacement system that minimizes the need for additional training and ensures seamless integration with existing systems. Computer-aided dispatch system, otherwise known as CAD. All CAD systems are highly complex. The district joined 3 other PSAPs to purchase and develop a regional CAD system nearly 9 years ago. This new CAD system has stabilized, but is a constant state of change and upgrades due to system requirements and user needs. Funding to pay for our portion of those upgrades has been included in this year's budget. The district does not house the servers used for the CAD system. We rely on high availability connections through VeloCloud to the CAD hubs, which are located at Washington County and Clackamas County's 911 centers. The VeloCloud devices utilize multiple redundant internet connections such as fiber optic, cellular, and satellite. This ensures that our connection to the CAD servers is stable even during service outages. The physical CAD workstations were replaced in 2024 with smaller form factor computers. Backup center. If there is a need to evacuate our main facility, we are currently challenged by technology. In 2024-2025, the district received a new CPE, or customer premise equipment, our 911 telephone system refresh funded by the 911 tax. With the new version of 911 telephone technology, we purchased 2 Vesta Command Post laptops. Currently, the district can operate CAD remotely, either locally or by leveraging our partnerships with Magix, Regional CAD Consortium. If needed, district staff could relocate all of our operational staff to any one of the 3 911 centers in the region, Clackamas County, Lake Oswego, or Washington County. Again, all 3 of these 911 centers operate on the same CAD system as the district, and all 3 centers operate the same 911 telephone system. This continues to contrast to what C911CD has in place today, which is an agreement with Columbia River Fire Rescue to share office space at their Deer Island station. The equipment that is in fire facility is not capable of sustaining operations. With the implementation of the new regional CAD system, one component of what is needed is for a redundant backup location has been addressed. The other remaining components needed are the ability to transfer emergency telephone lines, which is relatively easy to do, and the ability to send and receive radio transmissions to and from public safety end users within the county. The most complex and fiscally challenging issue in the radio system is the radio system. Establishing a reliable, redundant system was intended to be achieved through the implementation of the new public safety radio system. However, due to the expiration of the 5-year operations levy in 2024, financial reserves have been used to cover general fund deficits, and the radio system project has been postponed until funding can be identified. Structures. The district proceeds the repairs necessary to maintain our VHF radio system. We expect that some of the existing radio system building structures will need to be updated or altered to accommodate changed equipment. Radio site maintenance. This addresses routine wear and tear to infrastructure and equipment, including repairs or replacements due to environmental conditions, wildlife or livestock activity, and aging facilities. Work may involve cabling, protection, access features such as gates and critical systems like HVAC. Funding is allocated to prevent further deterioration and ensure reliable, safe operations. The dispatch console furniture. As part of the 5-year strategic plan, we had intended to replace our dispatch console furniture in 24-25 fiscal year. However, due to the local option levy not passing, this initiative has been placed on hold. Additionally, our existing consoles have crucial components that are wearing out and can no longer be serviced, reinforcing the need for replacement. The best time to replace the console furniture would be when the radio consoles are being replaced, as doing both sides simultaneously is crucial to minimize the impact and disruption to operations. Dispatch console furniture is specifically designed and engineered for the 911 industry, and ensuring it handles 24/7 operations and accommodates offices like ours, where our comm specs use multiple mice, keyboards, and 5 computer monitors. Each 911 center is unique in its requirements based on location, size, and the nature of emergencies it handles. As such, each dispatch center is carefully tailored to meet its specific needs. Once the project resumes, we will see customizable layouts, modular furniture, and adaptable technology infrastructure to optimize dispatch performance. Our goal remains to provide solutions to enhance the functionality of our dispatch center by creating an environment that fosters efficiency and collaboration. Fire alarm and sprinkler system. The district's fire alarm and sprinkler system is the original one constructed with this modular facility back in 1999. It was built with the additions to the radio room, the MIC, and the extension. Funds have been included to replace the major components of this aging system. Tree vegetation control. Funds have been reserved for tree and vegetation control at several district properties. This includes tree damages by storm at the risk of falling, as well as trees whose positions endanger other district-owned assets. Proposed budget revenues for fiscal year 26-27 for all funds total $9,302,763. This represents a decrease of $1,209,073 or 11.5% from the current fiscal year. All funds total of $10,511,836. Decrease is primarily due to the loss of the district's operations levy. Cash on hand. The district's cash on hand, previously known as net worth capital or net working capital, when accrual basis counting was used, has fluctuated over the years. For fiscal year 26-27, it is projected to decrease over what was budgeted for the beginning of 2026. The primary reasons for this are some capital projects which are funded out of the reserve funds have been completed as planned. Plus, property tax revenue collections are drastically lower due to the loss of the district's operations levy. This graph depicts the fiscal year 26-27 projected cash on hand in comparison to previous years. This slide is the Columbia County Evaluation Growth Chart. This slide shows a steady increase in our county's valuation from beginning in 2016 to 2017, the current fiscal year. The total assessed value for Columbia County for 2025-2026 was over $7.057 billion compared to last year's $6.742 billion. This amounts to about a 4.7% increase over the prior year. This budget proposal is prepared utilizing funds received from the permanent property tax rate and the state of Oregon 911 excise tax funds. Following the failure of the 5-year local operations levy renewal measure in both the May and November of 2024 elections, the district had to utilize funds from the reserve loss reserve fund, essentially depleting the fund. As a result, and to ensure continued financial stability for the fiscal year 2025-2026, This proposed budget includes strategic adjustments to align with the available funding. Looking ahead, the district plans to pursue renewal of the local options levy May 2026 election. Previously, this levy had earned voter approval in Columbia County for the 5 consecutive cycles. The rate of 29 cents per thousand assessed property value remained unchanged for over 20 years. This proposal utilizes the full taxing authority of the district's permanent tax rate of 25.54 cents per thousand assessed property value within Columbia County. Without the district's local option levy, the total tax is projected to be collected as $1,681,906, which is a significant decrease from prior years. The 911 excise tax. Under the 911 excise tax funding mechanism, a monthly $1.25 per phone line is charged to consumers, including prepaid wireless users, and collected by the phone service providers for the state revenue division, which then turns it over to OEM 911 program for management. This tax was changed effective January 1st, 2021 with the passage of House Bill 2449, which increased the tax 25 cents. The tax has been at 75 cents per line since 1995 until it was changed in January 2020 to $1 per line. The portion of all funds, 35% of the 911 excise tax collected, are used by OEM 911 program to pay for the purchases, installation, and maintenance, upgrading, and database maintenance for Oregon's enhanced 911 call reporting system, in which each PSAP in Oregon participates. Items paid for include emergency call delivery, infrastructure and database, call taking equipment and system maintenance, GIS management, UPS power supply systems, and replacement and maintenance, and text to 911 technology. The program also funds the training and certification program for emergency medical dispatchers and emergency telecommunicators under the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. New hired ComSpecs, in order to become certified, are required to attend a 3-week academy at DPSST facility located in Salem, Oregon. The remainder of the revenue is then distributed to local jurisdictions. Counties of a certain minimum unincorporated population receive a minimum of 1% of the distribution. The rest is distributed to counties by unincorporated population and to cities by incorporated population. These jurisdictions must use the funds for 911 call taking and related dispatch costs. In our jurisdiction, the total distribution comes directly to our PSAP. Columbia County qualifies for 1% minimum distribution. OEM reimbursements and direct payments. OEM pays for the district's 911 lines and equipment maintenance, repair, upgrade, and database maintenance costs, as they do for all PSAPs in Oregon. PSAP managers have directed the state 911 program to pay these costs in full prior to dispersing operating revenues to the PSAP jurisdictions. The line and equipment maintenance costs are paid directly to OEM, and in the past were recorded here to reflect revenues contributed towards the cost of our system. Due to their unreliability of the information that was being reported by the state, the district decided not to budget for this revenue. The state's GIS MASG funding model is calculated using a formula based on population served in a defined geographic jurisdiction, or in our case, county boundaries. PSAPs are required to report their actual MSAG maintenance activity in order to receive the distribution. The district is currently contracting the maintenance of our MSAG to one of our Magix partners, and in exchange, they collect the distribution from the state for those services. Sorry, got a water break there. There's a lot of words. Proposed budget for the fiscal year 26-27 is designed to sustain the district's current high standard of service to our communities and public safety partners. This approach takes into careful account the financial constraints resulting from the actualized lapse of the local options levy. The district remains committed to fiscal responsibility and will seek voter approval in May of 2026 for the continuation of the local options levy, which have been successfully renewed during the past 5 election cycles, and that preceded the May and November of 2024 elections. Due to current budgetary constraints, strategic plans to replace the aging radio infrastructure with the next generation countywide system are postponed until funding can be identified. This delay will allow the district to assess community support and rebuild the necessary financial resources to support a comprehensive system upgrade. In the interim, the district will prioritize the replacement of critical components within the existing radio system to reduce the risk of failure, ensure continued operational readiness, and support compatibility with future radio system. Facility improvements and essential radio system repairs will be financed through reserve funds the district has prudently accumulated for such contingencies. As these reserves are drawn down to address urgent equipment and infrastructure needs, the ability to replenish these accounts will depend on the successful passage of the local options levy. The district remains dedicated to recruiting, training, and retaining personnel at authorized staffing levels. Ensuring a well-prepared workforce is essential to maintain our service. Delivery standards. Reduced revenue due to the loss of the local options levy will have several impacts on the proposed 2026-2027 budget. It will limit contributions to the contingency fund and leave no ending fund balance available to cover expenses from July through November of 2027 through 2028 until all property tax revenues begin to come in. Most significantly, this loss reduces our ability to save within funds that were established for that purpose. In order to present a balanced budget, we are proposing to transfer $1.6 million from the equipment reserve fund, leaving only $2,050,000 for the radio replacement project and $623,729 from the facilities reserve fund, which will fully deplete that fund. So for the presentation, and again, I just want us to thank you all and the staff, members of the board, budget committee, advisory committee members for the dedication, time, and effort in developing this budget proposal for the upcoming fiscal year. Please be assured that the same level can only apply to the effective administration of the 2026-2027 budget. Any questions?
Yeah,
Myself or my
I
staff?
have some questions, but
Okay.
first off, the word that comes to mind is bleak. You know, that's the worst budget message I've ever had the misfortune of hearing. And I'm not throwing rocks at you, Jeremy. It's because of the failure of the last levy. It's just bleak. Anyway, questions. Have we ever had to put anybody on hold? You know, our staff ever had to put anybody on hold with too many calls?
For answering calls?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. As part of our normal practices, a lot of that, if we're putting them on hold, generally is because we're on the radio talking to the first responders. Usually, I mean, that's one of the things we try to avoid for obvious reasons. But yes, putting people on hold, certainly 911 lines take priority. The non-emergency lines come secondary. So at times you put the non-emergency on hold. It does happen, but generally it's because we are trying to relay information to the field one way or the other. But that's not the common practice. That generally only happens if you have multiple 911s at the same time, more than 2 or 3 staff members on duty can handle at once, or too much radio traffic to make it hard for them to multitask.
How does our district compare with other 911 agencies of similar size as far as payment of staff goes?
As far as payment of staff, so we are, depending on the agencies you're looking at surrounding us, we are comparable with some of our local agencies. Clatsop County would probably be the most comparable regionally to us in size, in calls volume, even though it is smaller than us. But their call answer times, their staffing, their pay is all pretty even to what we're looking at. I will say that we can't really compete with Portland with the amount they pay. Obviously, it's a much larger entity. Washington County's in that same boat.
Similar size.
Yeah. So, when you're looking at similar size, we pay a little better than some of our comparable size just because we are competing with the BOACs, the Washington counties that people can drive to within 30 minutes.
Too close, yeah.
Yeah. And Cowlitz County across the river is also theoretically comparable to us, even though out of state, it is close enough that they can drive there. So we have to try to remain competitive in that category. Over the years, we've tried different things with increased time off, those kind of things to try to hang as a carrot to attract people and to keep people here because they do have other options they could do.
But we're not low.
But we're not low. I would not say we're pretty equivalent pay wise to where we're sitting.
In that regard, I heard what you said about healthcare coverage. Everybody has good healthcare.
Our healthcare plan is pretty comparable to the surrounding organizations, I do believe.
Was any thought been given to? Well, I know what's available through PERS because I'm a PERS person.
Right.
To offering lesser healthcare, like United Healthcare instead of Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I don't know the last time we considered that, Mickey, you might be better.
So we do offer Regents, Kaiser, and a new one called Surest. I think I pronounced it correctly.
Good.
So we offer a choice. They're all similar plans. Kaiser typically is the
Yeah.
most expensive. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, okay, I didn't know. I thought it was a single program from what I heard.
No, CIS, the people who manage our healthcare offer different
Okay.
programs that we can choose from. There are options, they offer packages, and that can all be done in negotiations in our CBA, with our CBA.
Thank you. Personal interest only. Who's our attorney or attorneys?
So we use Michael Peterkin, who is out of Bend for our general counsel. We do have Miller Nash, who works as our HR attorney that deals with just HR related stuff. And then we also have a third attorney that has been retained as special counsel for ongoing litigation, Sharon Peters.
And Peters.
Yeah, she's out of Lake Oswego, and she's a HR specialist.
Yeah, just curious.
Mr. Chair. I have a question. This being my first budget meeting, what is the process here? Because I don't want to jump ahead if it's something that might be on your list of things to go over in your order.
Just general discussions or any questions.
Okay, I do have a list of questions here to go over clarifications. So Jeremy, I think in your presentation, you said that the district continued funding for 17 ComSpecs, and that includes the 3 leads.
I would like to adjust that,
Okay.
if that's okay. So I didn't catch that in this, and I made a note of it when he spoke it. This current budget is not. It is for 12 and 2 part-time and 2 leads. 12 total and 2 part-time. The 2 leads are in that 12.
Okay, so we have 14 on the sheet that was handed out in front of us, and then you're still retaining 17 is what your goal is, or funding for 17?
We are not funding that in this particular budget that you're looking at right now.
That was just that was a typo in the actual statement, and I'm glad you caught it because it is only 14. And that was originally we were trying to go for the 17, but due to what our budget restraints were, we had to work around that and reduce it to the 14. So it'll be 14 full funded full-time position or equivalent positions.
Well, 13. Sorry.
Now we got our numbers all jumbled.
It's the 2 part-time people. There's 2 people, but 1 position. So we're talking people here.
Part-times that make up 1 full-time.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, that was.
So I guess I'm a little confused. So just to be abundantly clear here, so what we're actually including into this 26-27 fiscal year budget is 12 lead and full-time communication specialists and 2 part-time communication specialists.
Correct. Along with the 8 admin staff.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you, Tyler, for clarifying that. I totally missed it while I was reading through there.
So no problem. So do we go through this line by line item, or is it just everybody reviews and brings up questions that they have?
We go line by line. Okay. And just for clarification, if you all see on the top of your report highlighted in yellow, it says 3% no levy. That 3% is typically when I do the payroll, our CBA has a minimum and a maximum COLA increase. And that max in the years that I've been here has always been 6%, but currently we're in negotiations to extend the contract. So I didn't have parameters. And we talked about those percents, and 6% is not something that I could budget for in here to give me any kind of a buffer with my payroll. 3% is something that we're considering to offer, period. No min, no max, just 3%. And so that's what I based the budget on. This budget on is 3%. So I wanted to clarify what that number was up in your corner.
May I clarify that too? I just kind of want to put it in terms to make sure that I understand. So I want to make sure that Yeah, I want to make sure I understand. So are you saying that you are budgeting 3% and is that for wages only? For increases, and is that amount included in the proposed by budget officer column?
So the increase is a 3% COLA increase only across the board for every position.
Okay, thank you. And then is that 3% included in your numbers that are currently in your proposed by budget officer column?
Proposed by officer, yes.
Far right.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yes, those are the numbers, and all those numbers reflect a 3% increase per position.
Okay, thank you. So given that we don't know the certainty of the option levy at this point, or just, basically the funding of the district, have there been conversations about going into a spending plan that basically is mandatory critical spending only? And what I'm getting at is when I look at some of these line items, such as, well, I'm going to go down my list here. So is the fitness wellness for 7,560 line 25, is that something that's in the CBA that we're obligated to give?
It is in the CBA.
Okay, thank you. What are on line 24, what are usually other personnel services for 31,500?
That is the place that I put so I can track all of our expenses for hiring employees, because at that point, we have approximately every background check is $2,000 per employee. We do their physical, that's an additional fee. All those fees for hiring is in that line item.
So pre-employment expenses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then employee assistance, line 21 for $3,000. What does that usually entail?
That's our EPA. We have through SDAO, our employee assistance program that the employees can call for multiple different reasons.
Can you give me some example of what a qualifying reason would be?
Yeah, you can be struggling with anything in life and you can call your
They do budgeting, counseling, mental health care,
lawyers.
you name it, you can reach out to them and they can help.
They help you
keep the
quit
right-
smoking. And yeah,
Would that also be if they're having difficulty because of a severe scene? Or
Yeah.
can they get?
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Critical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Psychological care is probably the biggest thing that is used.
Thank you. My next questions relate to line 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, and 30. And this goes back to my initial question about critical expenses with where we currently are with funding. For the record, 22 is staff training and meeting fees, 23 is staff mileage and transportation for 10,000, 24 is staff lodging and meals for 26,000. Line 26 is board training and meeting fees, 3,500. 27 is board mileage and transportation, and I did not write the amount there, but it is on the worksheet. And
Page 2.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
crazy higher than the last one.
And then 28 is board lodging and meals for 6,500 and elections for 10,000. Are any of these non-critical to where we can have a discussion of cutting or reducing? I mean, I personally, given the budget issues that we're foreseeing here, I mean, as a board member, I would say, please don't give me or, include my funding to go to these different things in mileage because I view that as a nice to have, but not a mandatory to critical operations and keeping the lights on and dispatchers going here at 911. So is there anything that we can do with these?
So the staff training and meeting fees, that is quite literally, the budget has been increased because we're approaching a heavier staffing level. We'll be able to actually allow to send people to training. Training costs have been increased significantly to sending people away for training, and we don't have a whole lot of options for local trainings that we're not paying some sort of training fee or mileage or reimbursement for. And so that's why you're seeing some of the updates there. Is that number inflated? Sure, we could reduce it some, but I would be reluctant to reduce it too much just because then it's restricting how much training we can get to our staff. And I have a very young staff who needs the additional training and would appreciate the additional training to make them prepare them for what's coming their way in their job. So though I would agree that we could make some space in that line, wouldn't want to reduce it too much just because it is related to training and directly affects citizens and first responders. Mileage and transportation kind of goes along with that. It's it's a fee that we're going to be paying for mileage, hotel rooms, those kind of things. Even if we send somebody to DPSST, they're for training, even though the training may be free, some DPSST, we're still paying mileage and reimbursements or travel costs there by CBA. As far as, the reference and training materials, that one's kept kind of low. The board training and meetings fees, as board members, that would be up to you guys to discuss whether you want to continue getting those paid for. We certainly are something that we could reduce if the board saw fit to reduce those numbers. That would be something that is it mission critical to have? No. Is it a nice benefit for volunteer board members? Yes, but that is something that we can, as the board, could have that conversation.
And keep in mind the one mandatory meeting annually.
Yes, there is one mandatory meeting that they're required for their SDAO training every year that we'd have to talk about, but.
And there's a fee for that.
Yes, there is a fee, yeah. Yeah.
And it switches, it goes Bend or Seaside.
Side was this year, so
Back
Bend will
and
be the
forth,
next, yeah.
so those costs fluctuate over the years.
Okay, so what I've seen from various public safety agencies over the year too is when their agency is in a budget crisis, they will still do, the certain training, right? But they will usually cut out of state travel, or they'll limit because they're trying to basically decrease the fees for things like airfare, lodging, and those more expensive training activities. So I guess my ask would be that, Jeremy, that maybe you look into what that would look like, but still make sense for the concerns that you have. And then I will also propose to the board that we cut all of the board related expenses except the ones that Mickey just mentioned. Because, it's, 6,500, 3,500, or 6,500, 3,500. It was 27.
Tyler, those numbers are based on if you all go.
Okay.
So those numbers can't get really cut. If you all go.
I mean, cutting them completely.
Oh,
So
I'm
don't-
sorry. I thought you meant reducing them.
Yeah, yeah.
I apologize.
Until we get the financial situation in control and a more positive outlook, I would propose to the board that we consider cutting those things completely, except for the mandatory training that you had mentioned earlier.
Can I add something, Tyler? Yeah. Well, there are some classes that, and I don't know, it's been a few years for me, but if you cut it, then you pay for it in your insurance because you get credit when you do take some of the classes because you have to meet certain things through special districts.
That is.
Does reduce your insurance rate. So it's just something to look at. That I'm not sure which ones they are anymore, but
The rebates that you're getting back from SDAO.
Yeah, that we talked about in the
they look
slideshow
at
earlier.
other different areas.
In there.
And Jeremy, I would think that you'll probably include those when you take a look at that. Okay, great. Thank you. I have some more questions, but they're deeper into the packet and I want to pause just to make sure that nobody else wants to jump in about any questions or concerns on these first two pages.
My concern, thanks, Tyler, and mine. I'm concerned that we didn't get any supporting documents for the budget. This is the first time we've never in 20-some
The
plus
book
years.
itself or?
Book or just supporting documents to the numbers.
We can print you out the.
It would have been nice. It'd be easier to take notes during, like you say, it's a
Okay.
worthy process. And
Okay.
usually I have, I'm making notes in the book while we're going through it. So
Oh,
that
think of that.
was, it's been, I know you guys.
We normally have the book prepared, but due to some life changes for some of the staff right before the preparation, we didn't get the book prepared. Though we have a bunch of this.
I don't care about a book.
Yeah, no,
It could have been all state.
I was just saying, we didn't have the book, but we oversighted the fact that, yes, the sporting documents are.
Is that something that could
maybe be emailed out?
Because it doesn't, I got numbers. I can figure out numbers, but I need
Everyone
supporting.
the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be nice.
Yeah, sorry.
I prefer, written form. That's how I do my calculations and, okay. Did anybody have any questions? Just Mark or Kendra or Luis?
I think Mark's on the road, so I'm not sure where, how capable he is.
I've been listening in. I'm okay with everything I'm hearing. I think Tyler's doing a great job of catching the numbers I had questions about as well. So I'm content with what I've heard so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mr. Ryerson. Just knowing that, I guess, having the years preceding, but knowing the current year, current budget versus actual numbers, where I do a lot of my thoughts. Is there a way to get that?
Yes. I can do a budget versus actual comparison in my system. It's got that report available to me. It's not something I've done before for anyone other than myself, but.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you asking me to supply that to everyone here?
It was just a thought. I don't have to have, I can figure something out.
Okay.
Didn't know if that was something that was readily.
We can make it available. And if you guys want, we can deliver you guys copies if you prefer paper copies, or we can email what we have as well. You just need to know the preference to make sure you guys get them.
Mr. Chair. I mean, my preference would be that we would upload the proposed budget to the district's website too for transparency. That's what we do with the other governing bodies that I'm involved in. And I think that's.
It usually goes up after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure. But of course, having to, Mr. Greison's point though, too, the context with the supporting documentation, I think is going to be critical to also include with that.
And we'll make it a priority to get it done.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna have to leave here at about 2:15 for another commitment, but when is our next budget meeting? Do we have that?
We haven't said it yet. We can do that real quick if that's okay with people. We'll go back to the questions.
I don't want to hog the floor here, so if anybody wants to tell me to be quiet for a minute, just.
I have basically the same exact questions. I have one other line item, but besides that.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
The only, I mean, do we want to?
Do we want to do it?
You want to do that first?
We do a date.
Last week.
Yeah.
Out of here. Time.
And then,
Let's go.
Mary Jo, or what, I mean,
Well, just, in the past, you usually allow yourselves about a week to look over the numbers and whatnot. Jot down questions and bring them to the next meeting. So we're looking at next week. It's really what works best for all of you.
Let me throw a monkey wrench in it then. Next week I will be in Virginia.
Okay. Well, we have to have this done no later than the 7th. So it gives us a little bit more time in there.
Make sure it's prepared for the board.
May I ask a question that I think could potentially impact the dates? Based on the request for the supporting documentation, how much time, Nikki, I'm assuming it's you that put that together. How much time do you feel that you could need to do that?
5 minutes? It's all, I'm gonna, the points already.
Well,
I'm just gonna send this to you and then I'll print out my budget comparison and send that to you.
you want to try to go
I have-
this budget comparison?
I can do it right now.
While we're trying to schedule.
I would
That
do
work?
that. Absolutely.
Stephen?
Does that include the information of details that you would like to see? If it's just the PowerPoint presentation?
I have,
well, I'm
Oh,
not.
she's
I
putting
couldn't-
something out of the budget as well. She's gonna put the.
I can do the budget comparison for you, but my question with this notation that I made in here about the 17 employees that you brought up, thank you, Tyler. Do you want me to change that before I send it out?
We probably should,
Not-
just to make sure that we're not confusing people.
There is a couple of other points that I also noted. And they are all around our facility fund,
Okay.
where it talks in here that we will be able to do that. But it also states in here that we've depleted our facility fund. So those things are not true either, and that
Okay.
needs to be.
Well, let's make sure it's factual.
Yeah, why don't, I'd rather not hurry, I'd rather be.
So, but I can do the budget comparison right now. I'll make these adjustments. It won't take long for us to do that, and we'll get that out by end of day.
Perfect.
No worries. Okay. My 2 cents worth, I'd rather see it done, the 4th to the 8th of that week. If you're gonna be in.
I get back about 10 o'clock at night on the 6th.
Oh,
So I could be here on the 7th. A little bleary, but I could be here.
And the reason the 7th is that because it's a board meeting or,
Because we have to have, it's about publishing dates.
yeah.
And I have to have it, at least the way Nancy used to do it, she was 2 weeks before, at least 2 weeks before the meeting. And then she had herself some leeway in there too, so. I mean, because if I get back to the paper, the loan paper, on the 7th, then she posts on the 15th. And that's, that's about as close as I can get it, because we're within that 2 weeks.
Are we thinking about a special board meeting also because in May, since we had to cancel today's?
Yeah, that was, Jeff and I got a chance to close a circle on it, but we had talked about it this morning, and it would be nice to try to get another one in before that happens. So,
Mark has his hand up too.
Mark?
Takes time.
Mark, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. Or not.
We can't hear you, Mark.
Before you have to leave, Jeff. What days work for you?
I think the 7th is good. I've got a conflict on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, but again, we should try to maybe do something on the 7th if that works for everyone.
I can play my schedule for the 7th, so this is important, so.
I can make it work too.
Are you able to hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you are.
Ish.
Perfect. I'm at the top of Corn Pass, so I apologize about that. Thinking if we're going to post the proposed budget, we probably want our action items that have been discussed so that way people have the true understanding what's happening with the proposed budget.
He's cutting it out, yeah.
Okay.
Mark, we were losing you again as you were talking there.
Feels like maybe the 7th is good for.
Mary Jo, will that work?
Yeah,
Or how about?
as soon as we break, I just go top.
Depending on what time, it is my grandmother's 100th birthday
Oh, wow.
that day, so I will be headed to Hillsborough, but it starts at 3:15, so if I'm out of here by 2:15, that'd be good.
So does the morning of the 7th work for everybody then, if we did something earlier in the day? Say 9?
Yeah,
10?
D, is that okay? Thursday, this,
Um,
in the morning.
9 o'clock's awfully early for a retired guy.
I was just throwing a time out there, Dean.
No, it's fine.
10 o'clock on.
10 o'clock, I don't care.
Did we lose Mark altogether? then?
I think we did, yeah.
Oh, you said he was trapped.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was right on Corn Pass. Mike, did that work for you as well?
Quite recent.
That's fine, I'll make it
I've
work.
dropped so many phone calls going through there. Yeah.
Thursday, the 7th at 10 a.m.
Is that okay? Better?
Sorry.
Thursday, the seventh or something.
And Dean, you said that was okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Steve, that you said it was, right?
It will work.
Oh, will it?
Yes.
Okay. And Jeff,
We're
that's
just gonna need to provide coffee.
Just provide coffee, right?
lots of it.
Yeah.
Caffeinated IV.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Get those emailed out to you.
I'm trying to get you out by 2:14.
Good, thank you.
You just text Corn Pass, lost signal. Sorry, we're trying to get
Makes
reconnected.
sense, yeah.
If he was coming this way, down the hole.
Yeah.
Yep, down the hole.
All right, so I
Okay.
think we had just another line item that somebody wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
Well, I think, so one of the things is that when you're asking the people for a levy, that means that they're gonna need to tighten their belts and, everything looks in line with all of the monies. I don't mean to pick on you, Jeremy, but you're the only one that looks like is proposed for an increase in pay. Some of them are down by a couple $100 here and there, but then on yours, it has a $10,000 increase year over year.
Well,
Is that accurate?
no, well, it should be a 3% increase across the board to match the rest of the union.
Is that because of Brian and me during that period?
That may have been because of the transition period. They had a contracted director, which was been this year's budget. And then it also got Nathan as the interim between Brian and when I got hired. So it probably throws off this year's budget line item by a little bit, just because we can ask Mickey when she gets back, she'll have a better grasp of it. But it should be just a 3% increase across the board if that's what the union gets. Generally speaking, the admin staff get in line with whatever the union members get. Just to keep that differential between.
Okay, so like for Mickey, for example, she went from 110 to 109. So she actually went down, and there's a couple other ones that are kind of like that. So I mean, there's obviously not a 3% increase
Okay, well,
on that line item.
yeah, well, once Mickey gets
That's
back.
why I was, in years past with my budget, I relied on the budget versus actual.
Right,
This
right,
was,
right.
this was the whole budget, not really what they were spending. At least in my experience, what we budgeted was above what the actual salary was, because we allowed for, if there was a training increase or something that came along during the year, there was a little cushion there for us to give that back. But that's why I use that other number, so I can figure out what was what.
Right, so without the information, it's hard to discern.
Yeah.
What that line item
Yeah.
actually means.
Yeah, 100%.
This is interesting though, like, is it potentially a typo? Or am I missing something?
I'm with one.
Nikki, on yours, it says, it's showing you going down. In your wages.
Well, even the office support specialist goes down by 262.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's because I budgeted for 6%. I'm only
Oh,
budgeting
okay.
for 3%. That's why all of those numbers, that's why the decreases, you saw decreases. Why are expenses going down when we all know expenses just keep going up, right? And that's why payroll went down. I have less people that I'm budgeting for because I can't budget for full staffing, and I only budgeted for a 3% COLA instead of 6 like I usually do every year.
Yeah. Okay. And then, the only other thing that I had was, so on the 2 part-time communication specialists that are actually doing one job, it went from 76,631 to 154. So that one position with 2 people actually costs 154,000 a year. That's right here. So-
Look, and you're looking at.
So the one part-time position actually pays 150 for that one position.
So
up to
it
2
doubled
part-time people.
because we had only one budgeted this year. We only had one and we only budgeted for one. And I budgeted for 2 this year because we had 2.
But it's one position.
2 people that will still get paid that amount.
It's two
So-
people filling one FTE position.
Yeah, it's one position.
So the 76 was just
Was half.
Was half.
was a half of a full.
So they're getting paid 76,000 a year for part-time.
Yes. And that is worst case scenario. That is max hours. Part-time has Ooh, I forget the words around halftime versus part-time.
Yeah.
So halftime is exactly 40 hours, or part-time is they're able to schedule up to 32 hours.
Yeah.
Not half of 40.
Right.
It's
So the budgeted numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, are not the actual salaries that goes to the individual people.
What you're looking at
Yes.
there would be, because it is just 3%, but it's what we are considering to give.
Okay.
Is the 3% COLA, because I think it's coming in at, was it 2 point something? Last time I looked?
2.53, and they were expecting it probably to drop a little bit versus go up the last stuff that we had.
So those numbers are probably the most accurate that you'll ever see. As long as we give them the 3%, which is.
Okay.
It's been-
On the seventh, what time do we state?
What's that? We do have the budget committee itself, but not a board. And that's what's important right now, right? Correct. Then after this one, it'll be more important to have a quorum.
And I apologize, what I gave you is my system, so it's only got my years in it. It doesn't have Nancy's in it. I wasn't gonna.
Yeah, just current all line.
Yeah.
All right, I have more questions when y'all are ready.
All right.
That's cool. Okay, so the other thing that I noted too is that on the handout on page 3, it totals at the bottom there, $4,999,600. But on the PowerPoint presentation, we have $1,510,491.
So I can explain that. This is our general fund. And then if you look at the back pages, our 3 other funds are in there, and that is the total, because when you look at the PowerPoint, it says all funds. And it's inflated. And it always is inflated because we have to count income in all accounts, but it's gone in our general fund. Or it can be the reverse of what I'm saying also. So my example is it's gone from our general fund to one of our funds. It came into our general fund, that's income I have to count. When I move it to another fund, I have to count it in that fund as income. So our money always looks inflated, but it's not.
Well, it's inflated when you look at it as a whole, it looks inflated, but when you break it down to the individuals, it's all accounted for. More than once I use candy, wait. Yeah, it makes sense.
I like Costco M&M jugs.
So I kind of view that, not having gone through this before, I kind of, at least for the 901 district, have for the city a few times now, but I view this as an opportunity basically to ask questions, good clarification, provide basic feedback on what we're seeing. And then the next meeting is where we kind of come together to reconcile on what we're doing, adopting.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right, just kind of wanted to level set on that baseline. Okay, again, I don't want to take over the floor. Mike, you want me to keep going? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
All right, let me find the page so I can reference the pages. I failed to write that down. Okay, so page 3 of our handout also has legal services, and it looks like we're budgeting 350,000. Now, without getting into the weeds on this too, this is an area that I'm going to have something to say to the board about this, because the insurance CCIS should be taking care of litigation that we actually are required to be involved in versus litigation that is not necessarily required. Given the financial situation where the district is at too, I think that there needs to be a lot of consideration about the way that the attorneys are being utilized and what litigation the district is engaging in. Because again, CCIS should be covering any actual required litigation. So while we're using this much money of public funds to litigate things that aren't required to be litigated is something that should be looked at.
Can I have an example of what required litigation is?
If somebody files a lawsuit, typically CCIS would cover that.
Not the thing.
Right, so are you? Go ahead.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
SDAO, it only covers $25,000 per litigation.
So is that including the fees for the attorneys, or is it including the damages award that comes from the court?
I think it's,
I would have to look at.
I think it's just fees because it comes off of the top. From the beginning of a litigation, they pay out. And then the bills come directly to me after that.
Okay, yeah, I asked because some policies you have unlimited on defense. So the amount of defense doesn't, Steve's probably more qualified to talk about this than I am, but some policies don't include the cost of defense in your coverage. So like if you have $1 million policy, the cost of defense for the attorneys, in other words, doesn't come out of the $1 million. The $1 million would be the award. So I'm just trying to clarify. That's what I'm curious about, basically.
I was not here with our first litigation payout. But I do know the SDAO covers the first $25,000 of each litigation.
Yeah, of each individual.
So I'm not sure on the other side of that.
That's interesting because like for CCIS with the city, if we consult them before we make a decision, like for example, a termination of an employee, our max that we would pay out on any claim for anything is 10,000.
I can do some research on what that insurance rider looks like
too. Yeah, because
Well, related
Special
question,
districts.
what's our history been on payout for the?
well, but that's the thing. It's because special districts, if they're involved, usually they paid for everything. Because if they don't like to go to court.
What's the
So
place?
because when we had issues at the fire department and we have litigation, as far as I know, they paid everything. We didn't use any of our own attorneys. If we did, we paid for it ourselves.
Could your costs be under that $25,000? And so
Ours, I'm sure some of it was way over $25,000. Of their cost, well, because attorneys are expensive. So I think you do need to look into it.
I will provide you guys
Because
with some context
if
on what
there's
that
a
looks like.
maximum, that's the first, if they're limited 25,000, that's the first time I've heard that.
And that's to cover the lawyer's costs out of the gate. They will pay up to $25,000. But if we're awarding because they won the case and we're awarding money, then that goes to our insurance. SPAO,
I thought
two separate things.
whenever you have special districts, they always assigned their attorney. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, you would, that's to my point, is that if you get served litigation or you think, I think I understand what you're saying, and I think.
I'll provide
Yeah,
some context
I
for you
mean, two
guys.
things can be true at the same time here. So,
Yes.
I get your point, but when I said, required litigation, it's like, okay, you're served a lawsuit, you hand it over to the insurance company, they assign defense counsel. You're not using your own attorneys, it's whoever they pick usually. But anyway, it's kind of beside the point. I think it's probably a better conversation with the board that for saving money, we engage in only litigation that's required to be litigated, not, we have disputes
We
all the
don't
time.
do any frivolous litigation. We're not out litigating anybody.
That's not my point.
We're only
We can talk about that board meeting.
defending ourselves.
Thank you.
So it's all required.
Well, if that was the case, we're defending ourselves, we'd be defending ourselves every day in a public body. So, but there is a line. So we'll talk about it more.
Yes. That definitely a board decision, but
Yeah.
have you looked into? Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Audit services, just trying to make sure I understand what else is included in the $30,000 for audit services.
We are 1 year behind in our audits and have been since I came here. This year, I was able to convince our auditors to do at the same time, both years. And so that's double the fee.
Okay. And just for context, that was because of
that kind of stemmed from the whole COVID thing and being able to find.
I have no idea why we were a year behind.
Yeah, my understanding was that we had a hard time finding an auditor, and that would have been probably towards the end of COVID time. That would have been difficult to find an auditor, but now that we have, we will be caught up this year. These two are done.
And I apologize, but I think we had Polly Rogers for.
It's all been signed, but that's why they cycle through their.
A number of years.
SARS.
So you got rid of Paul Rogers?
No, we have Polly Rogers. They are still, and we've had them forever, for a very long.
That's your problem. And I talked to, I won't say I brought it up before.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I understand.
Yeah, there's other, I know that Moss Adams, I think does the counties.
I have tried, and so has everyone else in the state of Oregon, to get a new auditor because they are dropping like flies and everybody's losing them, and there are none in this state. And the closest we can go is possibly Idaho, and that currently looks like that's filled up and they're not even taking anymore.
New business.
And I've been doing that from the minute I started here. Been looking for a new auditor. We have groups through our different programs. SDAO offers a HR Alliance and a Finance Alliance, and they are talking about it all the time in emails back and forth. So I get those emails, and everybody across the board is struggling.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna take off. I think that I have everything I need and I'm gonna go to a work function, so. You guys good with that?
Thank you.
Next time. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And then I just have two more. Professional services, 40,000.
Which number that?
Would be line number 4 on page 3, right?
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. Yes.
And what's your question?
What's all generally included historically in professional services?
Can I go print it?
It's okay. If you don't know, I'm just curious for the record.
It does state it in the PowerPoint. And what's
Professional services, I think, is where we encompass a lot of our
Memberships.
memberships.
SDIO.
Well, and just because of
Dr. Wiley,
Dr. Wiley for our pre-hire Sykes comes out of there, which is inexpensive.
not pre-hire Sykes.
Right.
Dr. Wiley is our
I'm sorry,
MPD.
ASA.
Yeah, sorry, it's called something
Sorry,
different
yeah,
here.
that was my bad. Yes, Dr. Wiley is the ASA and the MS coordinator.
Yeah. A doctor that you have.
Yeah.
Like that were your background checks and everything else.
She's actually part of the EMS ambulance service
Yeah,
district.
you have to have, all ambulance service has a physician advisor, and that's what your fees are.
So she helps review QA, QI, that kind of stuff for us. So
And professional services in the PowerPoint states significant adjustments have been made to fund the district's increasing need for legal oversight of the collective bargaining agreement, radio site agreements, public purchasing rules, intergovernmental agreements, policy review, and unforeseen labor issues. That seems like that should be under lawyers.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I know Dr. Wiley's in there, and I would have to look at, I know I put like, remember the contracted services that we had for, what was their names?
Well, that's my next question too, is the contract services one.
That's where it would go if we have it planned in,
Okay, so,
and that's where it's been in the past.
okay, thank you. So that, my next question is what's generally included historically on the contract services for 20,000?
That is our public records person that we have hired to manage our public records.
All the contract services, or do you have other?
She's the only one that is in that line item for tracking purposes.
Thank you. I mean, maybe consider in the future if we can make that a little more clear what that is, but I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you.
maybe change it to contracted services and maybe just add an additional comment on there.
And I'll
Records request or something of that.
She's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go over this too and make sure that those descriptions are
Yeah, right now.
I mean,
accurate, since I'm going through it again anyway.
just for context too, I mean, St. Helens, I joined, I think it was their work session. Was it last week? And they're giving layoff notices to 8 people, or actually they had already gave layoff notices, but they don't go into effect until June, is what I heard the city administrator say. And then I know the county, you know, it's no secret, they have, you know, a variety of furloughs, and I'm not sure that they've laid anybody off yet. But I know that there were talks about that were pretty serious. So it's just, I mean, I think context of what's going on around us is important to help us understand, you know, what's going on in public service and the funding issues too. And we really shouldn't expect to have, when other public entities around us are having major financial issues, we, you know, really shouldn't expect that we're not either.
As I went through this budget, I cut as much as I possibly could cut and had to inflate areas that I know expenses are going up in. So I did the very best that I could to cut as much as I could and still maintain where we're at. And the only way that I could do that is by removing funds from our equipment reserve fund and our facilities reserve fund, which is not meant for operations. But now we have to spend it because I don't even have enough money to cover the bare minimum.
Well, yeah, and in that same thought, you know, that facilities reserve fund needs to be back up.
Yep.
Needs to go up and up and up.
But it
Because
can't.
the antiquated
It would
equipment
save.
cannot last.
Yeah, I mean, this, Sally made it very clear when she was the administrator
Oh, yeah.
that this building was I think they said a 20-year building.
No,
No?
that's a 30-year building, but they projected it could certainly go farther than that with proper
We
maintenance.
do have some spots in the floor that are starting to weaken that we haven't been able to attain. We just replaced the roof this year due to some leaks. We've had to redo all the siding because it also is starting to fail and provide leaks and stuff as well. So we've done a lot of exterior work to this building, but the interior is definitely starting to show its wear and tear of 24/7 use over the years. So,
Definitely not a 50-year building. per se.
Yeah, there's some records online that said it was a 20-year building, but anyway. Okay, and then the one other, so in regards to staffing, Jeremy, with going down from 17 to 14, will that still bring the overtime down? Does that help you guys get out of the burnout with overtime, or what is that?
Without getting us out of the burnout, I'll say no. Will it affect our overtime? Yes, we will start to see some, probably very small savings in the overtime budget, but that's hard to predict with current staffing levels just because of the needs. But we, at this time, are running 2 people, 24/7, and a third person over the nights, afternoon and night shift. And we really would like to get back to 3 24/7. With these numbers, we're not getting to 3 people 24/7, now without a lot of overtime cost. So we would definitely like to increase the staffing numbers. I know staff is very concerned on what that looks like if we were to freeze hiring and stick it where we're at, what that's going to look like for them in their overtime, their home life and mental health and everything else. It was not with an easy decision for me to present this budget with us limiting our staffing to that number. I would really like to see us be able to get up to at least 3 people 24/7, which would have to be, I think we decided it was 17 comm specs or something right in that number.
I guess my concern is, I'm gonna ask a hard question. For years, we didn't really have much recruitment activity going on, and we had these really low numbers with personnel. And then all of a sudden you come and there's an emphasis on, I mean, it's very noticeable on hiring. So it's like, you know, now all of a sudden we're out of money, we need a levy. But before there was money and there was no emphasis on hiring. The numbers were low, people were working a ton of overtime. So
there is a lot to be said about the amount of work that's been done in our training program. Our training coordinator has done amazing work in rebuilding our training program, which has shown a lot of improvement in the retention of employees and success in the training program. So there is that. But there is also a lot of hiring efforts being done. I mean, as we talked about in here, we have our social media push. educating people about 911. And that has brought in a lot of applicants. It generated a lot more curiosity amongst the population. And the best part is they're local people. They're people from the community or near the community versus out-of-staters just looking to relocate. And there was a period of time, Clatsop County, when I was in Astoria, we were getting a lot of out-of-state applicants. There weren't anybody applying in-house. So that's changed. We're getting a lot of local applicants. So as far as emphasis, well, our people have been taxed with short staffing, a lot of overtime, and that is one of the key things that will save staff members is reducing the amount of time that they're spending here in their 14-hour shifts or whatever. We all know mental health and the amount of time you spend at work is directly connected to each other. So as far as emphasis on hiring, I can't speak before I got here, but I can tell you it is absolutely an emphasis for us now. That's not just saving staff, but it's what we need to do to provide the services for our first responders and citizens.
Tyler, I was on the board for 24 years. I can't remember a year that we weren't trying to recruit. In fact, if you want to talk to Henry about it, that was one of his biggest complaints, is that we couldn't get up to what we wanted. And it's been always our goal to have way more.
And some of that, and don't mean to cut you off, sorry, Dee, but
No.
Some of that is the constant changes in the leadership that we've adapted a lot, we've grown a lot, we've learned a lot. The staffing changes in the admin side of the building, the training coordinator, new trainers being on the floor, and the energy and the excitement of being trainers, all that directly affects your hiring retention. And I think anybody who's in any industry, quite honestly, when you have people who are excited about doing it and love and passionate with what they do, they're going to keep trainees and they're going to make them successful. When your staff is burned out and tired and working 14-hour shifts day in and day out, and they don't want to come to work, they're not going to be good trainers. And so there's been a lot of emphasis on spending that time taking care of our people and trying to provide them a much better workplace that they can be proud of and excited about, and provide that energy so that the culture that we're trying to change in this organization hangs on and gets people through. And that's been a lot of the retention efforts have been put on that. And a lot of that is, Kirby in working with social media from the training coordinator's office. She's doing a lot of work in trying to revamp our training program. And we've come a long way just in the few months I've been here, and what she's been able to accomplish with her redesigning that program. And I think we're poised and aimed at a very good place in the next few years if we can find a way to fund the positions.
Yeah.
So I like I said, it was not an easy decision for me, but at the same time, I also have to know the realities of what we have to work with and what that looks like. And I would love to be able to walk into the room and say, yes, we're funded for all these positions, but I also got to be realistic on what that looks like as the future financial outlook for the organization for the next fiscal year. So.
And I can speak to the time before you, we had changed our hiring. If you remember Donnell reporting in board meetings that we went to a continuous hiring in order to try to get our dispatchers relief. So that whole structure changed, and that happened before.
And that was
nothing has changed since Jeremy.
Yes, it was the revolving door of, we're opening it up for this period of time, we're closing. We're opening it up for this period of time, we're closing, and now we're keeping it an open recruitment that every month we're collecting those applications and we're interviewing right at the end of the month. We're not waiting, we're not holding back. And that has changed a lot too. And just some of the other things we've done, mailers that we managed to send out just a few months ago. We got 10 applicants within a couple of days. I think it was 10 or 12 applicants almost immediately from that listed that mailing as a reason that they applied. So there has been some efforts and some things we've tried even since I've been here that have paid off, and we intend to try to, garner that and continue forward. But yes, as far as staffing is concerned, staffing is, besides what the budget outlook looks like in our radio system, staffing's right up there at the top of one of the critical parts of this budget that I would, if we can find a way to fund more positions, I'm definitely going to take them. I'm not going to,
Yeah. No, I mean, the monthly report that the operations manager gives lays out, how many dispatchers are, here, how many are vacant. And if you just follow the trend and look at those on a monthly basis, it tells a story.
Yeah, we have 2 here right now that are extremely successful in the training program that I expect both to be done by the end of summer, if not maybe a little sooner. We have one more coming in the door that we're hoping to bring in May, by the end of the month. And I would love to be able to continue that process because we have people that are applying that are waiting to do for their opportunity. And we've been doing sit-alongs for people as part of the process. As soon as they apply, we bring them in, get them in sit-alongs, do ongoing testing with them immediately. Part of the problem with the hiring process is it's a very long process. And I think one of the things we learned is when you wait, you allow them to apply, you wait 2 months before you bring them in, they've either found other employment or they've lost interest in 2 months. They've come through the door and shown interest. Let's grab them. Let's start this process now and let's keep them engaged. Because the second you leave them alone for a little bit, they forget. They just move on.
You gotta break them early.
Yeah.
I just, being in the service,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to retention, the job is the worst part of it.
Well, has that increased your, background, check expenses?
Absolutely increases those expenses because the more people we're bringing in, the more we're having to do backgrounds, the more psychs we're providing. It absolutely is an increase.
Gotta pay to play.
Yeah. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, I guess however you look at it, but with the requirements from the state level, DPSST, the requirements just as of late, we've been doing psychs for a long time around here, but the state just made it mandatory within the last couple of years for dispatchers to have psychological examinations as well, like police. So
Put an app in, but I can't pass that.
yeah. Well, some of us that have been around a few years worry every time we take one that we're not quite cut out for it anymore, but there has been more restrictions for a good, positive outlook on the profession. We're getting more qualified people in the door that are better prepared mentally to sustain the job, but it is an added expense that we're required to make. So
with these 14 positions that are budgeted for versus 17, this doesn't cause anybody to lose their job, right? Which you're just not filling vacant positions.
we're just not filling vacants.
Okay.
Correct.
Sorry.
Like I said, I would love to fill vacants, but that's keeping the status quo as is. That is not adding any other bodies. That is with our trainees that we currently have and that one person that's getting ready to come through the door. So. And that will eliminate all, but we actually have one shift that is totally uncovered on night shift that is pretty much overtime all the time. And that'll only fill one half of that shift. So we'll still have a half a week worth that'll be overtime.
And I'd imagine you've already looked at changing schedules.
Changing schedules. We've looked at different options. We're trying different options. And a matter of fact, the day I came in, I said, if you guys have ideas, bring them to us. We'll look at them, we'll review them, we'll see what we can come up with. At this point, balancing my only people to fill those holes right now, if I can't get people to sign up for the overtime, it's going to be our training coordinator, Kirby, or Danelle as the manager, which is not optimal. I would much rather than be in their offices working on their jobs. So having somebody to fill that other spot, we've had to manage our schedule to leave that spot someplace where it is easier for them to, with their normal duties, try to fill that hole. So, and of course, there's overtime costs involved with people also working at a higher pay wage to fill those holes. So,
are those overtime eligible positions?
There is Kirby's is, well, I think both of them have I think it's in contract or in policy that they are compensated for their overtime. But they are also do everything they can to try to find coverage before they fill those spots. And granted, it has gotten better with recent hiring efforts, but there's still costs associated.
And Kirby's really good at managing her hours, and not the only time she gets overtime is if she's over 10 on the council.
And she generally works later hours so that she can be here for that coverage if needed, without just adjusting her hours around that time instead of charging the overtime cost for it.
So with that, the 12 full-time, 2 part-time, would that give you your bare minimum positive outlook?
That is keeping us at status quo now with that overtime.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, except for the one person we're getting ready to come through the door, will be added to the schedule should they be successful. So there will be a little bit of a benefit, but not as much as we'd like to eliminate.
You need to find another 160,000 so you can bring another person in.
It would be nice, yes.
Which would be found in.
Yes. Yeah.
Might be able to find half of it and cut in a board member.
Well, if anybody knows how to grow a money tree, that would be nice.
With cutting that stuff is it never fails. From my experience, we always tried to make sure we had that training money and that stuff available for board members and for the people here to do that training. You can go 2 years and not have anything cool, and then something new changes, and now 2/3 of the group has to go in order to get everything moving. And if it's not budgeted, you're behind.
Yeah.
So I'd rather, in my eyes, I'd rather have, $4,000, even if I'm running a tight budget, I'd rather have 3 or 4 grand left over in a line item than be 4 grand under,
Is that for staff or for your board?
for both.
Okay.
And my training is annual because of all the changes, so I can't get everything I need at one. I've tried to find just one that does it all. And it ends up, I can manage everything through 3 different ones.
Well, and if we're being honest, the training that I've gone through over the years, I'll use me. I'm best if I can glean a good 10% of what's given that day. But I gain 40% in just communication and the working around the room. I've gotten more things, more help from other districts and other people by going to those meetings, being in the training and having that conversation around the table than I have actual information from the training itself. There's always something you bring back, but I've always gotten more from the rest of it. So
10% is pretty.
there's, yeah. So to me, that little bit of, when we're looking at $4 million, $3 grand here and $4 grand there, if it's on every single page, then it's a big thing for me, but in one section, it's not.
We call that budget dust.
I wish I had some budget.
Yeah, right.
In something this big, I honestly wouldn't have known what to do with a budget this size, but it looks pretty good to me. Some questions.
It's been a learning experience, I can tell you that.
Anybody else have any questions? Sally, did you have anything? Because you have 3 minutes, it says here on the agenda.
Yeah.
Anything to do with the budget? Yes.
No.
Budget.
Sure, as a sign.
I guess, the only thing that I would like to comment on is this budget is good for 1 year. And I can't help but be thinking about what happens after this fiscal year. This district is dependent on local option levy operating funds. It has been since 1998. Without that, I don't know how the services will be delivered. So that's just my 3 minutes. But as far as questions go, I guess I'm really interested in taking another look at your budget message and the PowerPoint backup information, maybe of the most recent budget variance. But no, I think you guys went through a lot of pain and tears and hard decisions, and I say good job.
And just to add some context, should the levy pass,
I was gonna say, no one's mentioned that.
should the levy pass and be successful this time around, we are going to have to produce a supplemental budget. And Mickey has already done some legwork to come up with some.
Please don't make me Kirby.
Sorry,
I
yeah,
can't train.
yeah. Has come up with some options for what that would look like should the levy pass. She did a couple of different variations with different numbers, different staffing plans and stuff like that.
Different percent COLA increase.
Yeah, so there is some background work done already there as well. And so should the levy pass in May, we're gonna have another conversation with the different budget outlook. So she has done some of that homework. If you guys would like to see what those look like with the levy being successful, we're more than happy to share those as well. She's already done some of that work, and if you guys would like to see, we're certainly welcome to share them now, or we can share them after the fact. But the options do look a little more sunny and not as bleak as you had said earlier. But it definitely adds for some extra context of conversation about what the future outlook looks like. So if you'd like to see those, Mickey can certainly provide them for you. If you'd like to just work on these for now and then use those later so you're not getting them all mixed up with too many numbers to look at.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense, but Mickey has done a ton of work trying to look at what that looks like also. So I just wanted to highlight how much time Mary Jo and Mickey have put into this process in the last 2 weeks. It's been a lot, with a lot going on in their personal lives at the same time. So
Any other questions? Anybody, Sandra?
Not for me.
Louise?
I don't know if he's at his computer. I just told him to go help a dispatcher.
Oh, okay. Then, if nobody has anything, then we'll recess until 10 o'clock on May 7th.
thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.